Right folks, this is a video that people seem to want quite a lot, so here it is then. This is me releasing the Dortmund Tactic into the wild. It will be available on the Steam Workshop. I will leave a link in the description of the video, and it is a formation that came, I don't even remember the episode or when it happened that we decided this was the thing we were going to do, but with the players we had at our disposal, it just ended up making sense. And at the end of the season, I mean, we won the Champions League with it, spoiler, we won the Champions League with it. It worked rather well. Didn't quite get us a league title, but as I say, Champions League form was very, very good throughout the season. And I'm not going to talk you through too much in terms of analysis. I don't want to make this video 20 minutes long, but what I will go through then are the positions and the players that you put in those positions and why I think they worked. Now, of course, some people might have different interpretations. You might take this tactic on board, try it with your own team, and find things to make it even better than it is currently. Now, goalkeeper to kick things off was Stefano Cimenti. Essentially just an incredibly solid, physically very good goalkeeper. He didn't have to be good with his passing or anything. He just had to be a solid goalkeeper. With three defenders, you want him to just save shots. You don't want him to try and be involved in passing moves at the back. You don't want him to be distributing it nicely. You're just there. He's your stopper. You know, you don't want any more than that. The back three, and this is something I've always seemed to do with the back three. I've used the back three in a few different saves I've done on this channel, actually. I obviously did it with Parma as well. You've got Vinicius on one side, Englet on the other, and Silva in the middle. Now, the consistent theme with all of these, and if you look at the physicals of them, you'll notice this. Acceleration 13, pace 14 on Vinicius. You go to Diego Silva, 14 acceleration, 15 pace. For me, if you're going to play three at the back, you need defenders that are quick. And again, Englet, 14 acceleration, 15 pace. This formation, in my opinion, just will not work with slow defenders. You need good, consistent, strong defenders to play this, and it works really well. Of course, if you can get a preferred left foot on the left-hand side, that is why Englet would always play. Silva in the middle, right-footed. That central position doesn't matter so much. And Vinicius on the right, again, right-footed. Play him on that right only. And Vinicius was like a signing we made quite late in the save, actually, when you think about it. £15 million, but physical monster, really good at heading, marking and tackling attributes. Still 23, would probably grow into this this formation as well, and would become a much better player with that. Again though, I think the key thing I can say is that you need quick, physical players to play this formation. I don't actually necessarily think that the technical attributes mean that much, but if they're quick, like I played it with Salford as well, actually. Three at the back formations just require, in my opinion, quick defenders. Or you have to play a deeper line. And you can see from this, we're playing a normal defensive line. We're not playing a deeper line, so it won't work as well. And I always have the central defender as well, Diego Silva, on cover. And the speed, again, really important for him to have that. It just provides nice balance in the middle. Now, as we move further forward, defensive midfield spot is strange because it's not a traditional defensive midfielder. The player I've got in there was William Insigne, and he played there a lot for me. He's on the left-hand side of the of sort of his midfield shape, only very slightly on the left-hand side, but on the left-hand side, and is left-footed. I'm not sure how important that would be. I'm sure a right-footer would do a similar thing. The only real way to explain what sort of player you need is a slightly more creative N'Golo Kante. And that is what I feel like I've got. You can see the media description, tireless defensive midfielder, physically very, very good, mentally very strong as well. Work rate could be better. I think there's probably players that would suit this better, but for me, in this position, a 7.58 from your defensive midfielder. He plays on like a deep lane playmaker role, but on support. But you can't underestimate how good he was defensively as well. Tackling only at 13. Again, you could probably put, I think, I don't think his playmaking efforts were a pivotal part of why this tactic works so well. I feel like you could put most players in here, and as long as they're tireless, and as long as they've got the work ethic and the physical attributes to cope with the idea of playing a defensive midfield role, again, similar to N'Golo Kante, then I think it'll work. Despite the fact I played him as a playmaker, I don't know how well this tactic will work with a defensive midfielder, with a ball winner, even with a regista. By all means, obviously test it out, let me know how it works. And ahead of him, we have Quimby playing the advanced playmaker role, and this is sort of your standard midfielder. You can play lots of players in here. We did in fact play lots of players here, but Shoulder is a really good example. Anyone that's incredibly well-rounded, with an eye for a pass, mentally very good, again, physically very, very good. I feel like physical attributes are something you can't ignore in these sorts of tactics. If you're playing a tactic in the lower leagues, I don't think this is the tactic I would go for, honestly. Unless you've got, again, quick centre-backs, you've got tireless midfielders for the level in which you're at, then it might still work, but it is it's more complex than, say, your 4-4-2s or your 4-2-3-1, so bear that in mind. And on the right-hand side, for me, this is the most contentious point of the entire tactic. There's reasons not to do this, I would say. Lots of people questioned why I would play a winger in a support role and a wing-back attack right behind him. I guess the only real way to emphasise this is to look at the screen here, if we quickly bring this up for you, and show you the assists for both players. So our top assist makers on the right-hand side are Felix Paslak, who plays as our right wing-back, and Ivan, who plays as our winger. Now, while they do crowd each other out, the main reason it works so well, I think, on this left-hand side, and it wasn't as consistent on the left-hand side. Tolga, for example, in our midfield, only 2 assists that season. And to touch on his position, if you've got a left winger that can run, they will do the job. Like, he doesn't have to be good defensively. Good cross on him is ideal, but an engine to get up and down, 15 stamina, and he's very, very quick for counter-attacks and things like that. That'll be fine. You don't need any more than that. Don't try and get like a really creative left winger. I actually think it'll hinder you. It'll keep the ball too long. I wanted a little speed merchant that would go up and down like clockwork, and if he wasn't there, you'd have Khalifa Khalafa come in, who is slightly more defensive, but again, it's got that 14 crossing, it's got those physical attributes, and I think if you've got basically just a runner to play there, similar to like James Milner, maybe, that kind of player to play on that left-hand side, just to do a job, won't get overly creative, then it works really well. As I say, though, on the right-hand side, this was the contentious issue. It's why are you overloading on that side? For exactly that reason. We're like the amount of left backs, the amount of goals we get, the amount of crosses that are whipped in from that side. It was a key source of goals, and with the 2 creative midfielders up top that we'll come on to in a minute, well, the striker and the guy behind him, that was the key thing for me, to have him on attack, to have a 2v1 constantly, knowing you've got the 3 guys at the back the entire time as well. That's the big thing, knowing you've got those 3 at the back. You can afford to play a wing back and a winger next to him. I don't know how it would work differently. For example, if you were to play the wing-back as just a wing-back on support and then have the attacking winger, I don't know if that would work the same. I don't know if you get the same overload. But you'll see if you play this tactic that the left-backs, it doesn't matter who they are, how good they are, they can't deal with a midfielder in the centre occupying that side as well, and then you've got Ivan and Paslak, or whoever your wing-backs and wingers will be, on that right side, causing it like there's a 2v1 on every single time, and unless they've got a winger or a left-sided midfielder who's going to track that constantly, then you can't deal with it. So it's really, really effective, and it was a big source of our goals. I showed you from the assists before, it was a really big source of our goals. Now, these are probably the most important positions on the pitch. Every position is important, and the wingers on that right-hand side is a really component to why it works so well. But this attacking midfield spot, if you haven't got your best player, in my opinion, in this position, the whole tactic falls apart, because it is your #1 creative source. Yes, you have these guys on this right side producing things. You have an option on that left-hand side, but you saw only 2 assists in the league this season. This guy, your attacking midfielder on support, there's no other instructions on him other than ones he comes with, in case anyone's wondering, and that goes for most of the players. I don't think there's a single change on any player in this actual tactic. Now I think about it, which is rare. Like, lots of people like to tinker, like to change things, and of course you can do that if you download it and have a go yourself with it. But this guy, Just Gerald, that we brought in, is the absolute key point of this. And again, although it's this world-class attacking midfielder, if you're in the lower leagues with this tactic and you want to try it out, as long as he's world-class for the division he's in, so as long as he's a step above everyone else in that division, I suspect it'll probably still work quite well. You couldn't do this with an average attacking midfielder and it still comes off, because the amount of chances he needs to create, again, we'll look at the assists for the team overall, the amount of chances he needs to create, his pass completion's got to be good. He was getting an assist every 3 games, he had 15 overall, and his goal return as well, 17 goals. I don't know if this was a fluke season again, I only played 1 season with it, but he seemed to be in the right place all the time. As I say, he had what, sort of 9-8 goals in the Champions League and 9 goals in the league season as well. I only played 26 games. We kind of rotated him around a little bit towards the end of the year. We had so many games, but to bring him in, I mean, I'll show you Mankuru, who was sort of his deputy in this role. Very, very similar. Physically very, very good. Mentally fantastic. Great first touch. And again, when he played, 4 goals, 3 assists. Not as many, but still contributing in those areas. And it's such a key component of playing this tactic. You have to have your superstar in this role. Physically, again, has to be very good. Again, try this tactic out. Let me know if you do try this out. Like, let me know what you tinkered with, what you changed, and what you found to be more or less effective when you played it. And that moves us on to Luka Jovic, or whoever your striker is going to be. And again, you're looking for a complete forward. You don't want a poacher to finish things off. You want someone that's going to come a little bit deeper, maybe link things up now and again. You don't want a poacher. You want someone that can do it all. You want sort of, for those that have played Football Manager for a long time, you'll remember Edinson Cavani. If you ever used Edinson Cavani, he was like the perfect complete forward for a long time. You need a player like that. You couldn't have say, Jermaine Defoe. It wouldn't work. You couldn't have maybe a shorter striker. Maybe you could have someone that, I don't know, who's a little bit shorter. Luke Jovic isn't tall. I guess, well, 6 foot is relatively tall. The other player that played the same role is Matthias Muller. They've got the look of a complete forward. That Robin Lewandowski, that kind of player, that Luis Suarez, that player that can do a little bit of everything. And if they're at the top of their game, top level strikers, they're going to score goals. Luka Jovic, I think this season 16 in 28, which I think is probably going to be enough most years. 21 overall, and Matthias Muller had a very similar record as well. 5 goals in the league, didn't play him as much at the start of the season, but in Europe was lethal. You see 22 goals. He did all right in the World Cup competitions. Again, complete forward though is the role, and as I say, I'll leave this available to download. I won't go in depth too much. I feel like I've given you a little overview there, and again, they're the team instructions. Tempo is pretty normal, fairly wide because you've got obviously width on either side, retaining possession, shorter passing, keeping the ball, keeping it intricate, getting stuck in, closing down a lot as well, looking for the overlap, more so on that right side. There isn't an overlap on the left hand side, so it doesn't really happen. And then weirdly, I had exploit left flank on. It seems strange, but really, it's, for me, I just considered it a bit of a distraction play. If we're trying to force it out there, if the ball does get switched across, then we've got options on that right hand side, and looking for the overlap, we're going to have that double up now, like over and over again. If you want a more in-depth look at this tactic, let me know in the comment section. Maybe we'll look at that wing back play, look at the way our attacking midfielder operated, and a few little bits and pieces like that. And yeah, that is going to bring us to the end then. If you want this tactic, want to try it out, it's available on the Steam Workshop. There's a link in the top line of the description, and let me know how you get on then. We love with care from me to mention. Until next time, good luck with it, and I'll see you again soon. Goodbye.
3, 2, 1, go.